Hello friends, welcome back to another video on my How to Start a Garden series. Today I'm going to walk you through what the next steps are now that my seedlings have sprouted. Exactly a week ago I sowed these seeds over here and most of them are doing really well. For some reason these lettuce seeds didn't sprout very well, but I still have a few. I have my cabbage over here and these are ready to be separated and put into their individual cells. Same thing here with the broccoli and the cauliflower. Normally, I like to prick them out when they are slightly smaller than this, but these are going to work out just fine. I have my kale here as well that didn't sprout as nicely as I wanted them to, and I don't have as many here, but that's okay because I don't need a lot of kale plants. My peppers are still struggling over here, and I know that peppers take a while to germinate, but you can see that there are a couple pepper seeds that are starting to come up. I am considering reseeding these if I don't see any more seedlings popping up in the next few days. And over here I have lots of lettuce and radicchio. I purposely sowed several seeds in each one of these small cells because my purpose is to separate them. And like I said, I normally like to prick them out when they are a little bit smaller, but in the last few weeks I didn't have the time to do that, and now I am making the time today. One of the reasons why I like to do this a lot sooner is because look at these roots. And this is still going to be okay for us to do this the way it is right now, but I definitely don't want to wait any longer. That's why I must do this today. So in this flat right here, I have 32 cells, and according to my garden plan I need 30 cabbage plants because that's that space that I have reserved for my cabbages. So I'm going to fill this entire flat with these cabbage seedlings, and I have way more than 32 of these cabbage seedlings that sprouted, but I'm going to select the best to go on this flat, and those are the ones that are going to get planted into our garden in April. So the first thing I'm going to do is pop these out, and I'm just going to be as gentle as I can, but I also know that these are very hardy, so they're going to be okay. So I'm just going to pop out a few of these and put them here on this tray, and then now I am going to separate these. I have a tray right here because I'm going to be making a big mess. And from this cell, I see there are 6 seedlings, but this one here is very small. This one I'm going to choose not to plant, and I'm just going to choose some of the nicer and bigger ones in here. So I'm just very gently teasing the growing medium away from the roots. You can see that the roots are not breaking, so that's good. And I'm going to handle my seedling from the leaves and to tease them out a little bit. But if they're not pulling apart yet, that's okay. I'm going to keep teasing the roots until these are ready to come apart. And just like that, we have one right here. I'm going to set it down for a second until I separate the rest of these. And then these are going to be transplanted into their own individual cells. So I'm gonna keep teasing the roots. See how long they are. These are great. And they are not being damaged by me doing this. I just have to be very, very gentle. Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to plant these into their own individual cells. I've gone ahead and filled these cells with my soil, and this is the same recipe that I used in my seed starting video. The only difference is that I added a little bit of compost. You can add more compost if you want, like a 1-to-1 ratio, but I didn't have that much compost, so I added maybe like 1/4 of compost to the starting mix that I had. And notice I did not fill these all the way to the top, because once I plant these, I'm going to add a little bit of more soil. So I'm just going to use my finger to make a really deep hole because these roots are really long and I want to make sure that they are going deep. And if you can see, this is the soil level where the plant was, right here. I'm actually going to plant it a little deeper than it was. And that's actually just going to help stabilize my plant, and that's going to help it a lot. I need to still add some soil. And that right there is perfect. So I have all of these seedlings that I just separated, and I need to do the same thing for each one of these. These are each going to be in their own individual cell, and the plan is that they're going to stay in here until they need to be transplanted into the garden. So I want to make sure these are well fed. So not only does it have compost, it also has worm castings, which is part of the seed starting soil that I make anyway. And I did add about 2 tablespoons of Trifecta Plus. That is going to keep these seedlings very well fed until maybe the beginning of April or mid-April when it's time to plant them outside. So I am almost done transplanting all these seedlings into their new home. And all of this just comes from a 2 6-cell tray. And I love this method of multi-sowing at the beginning because sometimes you just never know what's going to come up or how many seeds are going to germinate. And once you have the seeds germinated and you have a lot of them, then you can go ahead and be very picky and choose the ones that have the highest chance of survival, the ones that look the healthiest, and that is just such a good way to go. So I like doing that a lot better than thinning them out. I know thinning them out can be a little bit quicker. You just clip off the ones that you don't want and just leave one in the cell. But that seems a little bit wasteful to me. And also, it just requires a lot more cells that you need to start. And this is a method that has worked for me really well. I actually don't mind the process of transplanting the seedlings like how I'm doing right now. I find it actually quite relaxing. I forgot to mention that I am using these 4-cell seed starting trays, and these are a little bit bigger than the ones I used before. And I wanted them to be a little bit bigger because they are going to be in this tray until I transplant them outside. So if I put them in a 6-cell pack, again, it's not going to give them enough room to grow. These brassicas that I have started already are frost tolerant. So once they get a little bit bigger, I can transplant them outside, even though we are still going to be having frost. I am most likely going to do it in early to mid-April, and we still are going to be having frost until early May, but they are going to be just fine. Okay, so now here I have my 32 cabbage seedlings for the season. Like I said, I only need 30, but it's always good to have a few extra just in case one of them don't make it. And by multi-sowing, I just have a few of these leftover ones that I'm not going to use. And that's okay because they are very small. And even though they might grow and be okay, I have decided to just focus on transplanting the bigger ones, and these little ones are just going to get tossed. Now I'm going to move on to broccoli, and I'm going to do the exact same thing with broccoli, but I'm going to use these pots. I think these are the 4-inch pots. And really, I'm just doing that because I don't have any more of the other ones that I showed you earlier. I really like those other ones. These ones are fine too. And that's what I'm going to do. These broccoli seedlings are just way bigger than I thought they would be. And again, look at these roots, they are huge. That's one of the benefits about these trays, because they have a big opening here and it doesn't allow the roots to get root bound. So I really like that about this. So now is like the perfect time to pull them out and transplant them into their own little pot. If I were to wait, I would probably be risking damaging them, and I don't want to do that. So I need 15 broccoli plants and 15 cauliflower plants. That's what I decided that I'm going to do for my garden. That's the space that I have. But really, I would want maybe 18 of each so that I will have a few extra ones just in case. So here I'm doing the exact same thing I did for the cabbage. I'm just teasing out the roots. You saw how huge these roots got, so they're a little bit more tangled than the cabbage, and that's okay, but they are able to get separated. Again, this is why I did not want to wait any longer, because then we would be risking damaging the roots. And notice that I am handling the plant either from the leaves or the top of the stem. I prefer to use the leaves though, that way the stem doesn't get damaged, because if the stem gets damaged, then that's the end of that plant. So you see how down here they're starting to get really matted and kind of tangled together. Like this is their limit. Like I really need to take them out today. That way this doesn't continue to happen. And we are still at a good time, so I don't need to worry about that. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to select the bigger and nicer ones that are going to go into their pot. So I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm making a deeper hole, and because I am using bigger pots, I can totally do that. And I am planting them slightly deeper than they were, just because I want the plant to be really sturdy. And I will add a little bit of soil to fill these up a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish out this tray. So here I have my 15 broccoli seedlings, and I can use this method for all the seeds that I started 2 weeks ago. And that would include like lettuces and different greens like kale, radicchio. I will also do the same thing for peppers, but I'll show you that later on because that will take a little bit of time. And I use the same method for tomatoes. I use this method for a lot of different plants. So I still have all my lettuces, radicchio, that I'm going to be doing the same thing. And very soon I am going to have lots of these flats in my basement already growing and getting ready for spring. Today is March 3. So that means in about 5 to 6 weeks, I'm going to be able to plant these outside. These are brassicas and leafy greens, and these are frost hardy, and they will be perfect outside. I want to say again that normally I do this what is called pricking out seedlings when they are much smaller, and here's a quick little video of what I did last year, and that's how tiny they were last year when I did it. And it works when you do them that small, but it also works the way we did it today. So if you feel like your seedlings have gotten a little too big to be able to separate them, do not fret. You're not too late. You can totally do this. Just be gentle with your seedlings and they will be all right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure you check out the playlist that has all kinds of videos about starting your garden in 2025, all the way from planning your garden to starting seeds. And we're going to follow along this growing season so that you can have a successful season as well. I'll see you next time.